close your blinds and light a candle with me. I'm Gesh86 and I welcome you to 3rdEye. Last time we received the mission to free a bird and stopped just as we discovered the necessary tool. The head of the key is shaped like a human eye. I wonder why that is. Most likely it was Satori's artistic choice when she had it forged. With this important item in hand, we should really hurry back to Oku. No detours. No intended ones at least. But what is this? We're in an empty space of white and an orphaned eye rolls at our feet. Even the 3rdEye stares in surprise at this odd visitor. Thinking back, wasn't Oku missing an eye? I assume she meant some sort of jewelry. Consulting our inventory, the eye is described to us as artificial and filthy. I doubt we can do much about the first, but wouldn't it be thoughtful to find a way to clean it up before we present it to our friend? Maybe we should not rush back immediately and go the extra mile. It was a stretch to return to our cell, but there we find a sly raccoon, a trash panda, as some people call them. Word of the related species of tanuki, it could have been Mamizo. Either way, I imagine she would be far too proud and independent to allow herself to be adopted by Satori. We ask this new hybrid whether the eye we just found belongs to it. That turns out to not be the case. Nonetheless, it was the right idea to address the eye. We are asked to hand it over. In Germany, the name for a raccoon literally translates to washing bear. It's because they wash their food in water if at all possible. This fellow is also obsessed with hygiene and scrubbed our glass eye clean. Well, that's another pet that turned out to be really friendly. If only all of them had been, Oku might already be free by now. We are then given a hint who the artificial eye may belong to. They have more than 3 eyes. We know a few folks who have exactly 3 eyes. Koishi herself, for example, or her sister, but even more? In the end, we can't know for sure. From here on, we are returning straight to the imprisoned Oku. We can only hope the naughtier animals don't ambush us on the way back. We've given them a reason for a grudge. This would be their last opportunity to stop us if they indeed scheme to do so. Honestly though, I think they're too afraid. We showed the Komodo and the horse whose boss the rest knew better, except for Orin. She stepped out of the bedroom and might be here to oppose us, or just to witness Oku's release. We can't assume anything yet. Now that we are so close to our goal, Koishi starts to get a bad feeling. Did our quest just go too smoothly? It's times like these when things are bound to turn sour. The Kasha reminds us of our attempted murder of our sister. I'm sure it's still an overwhelming load on Koishi's mind and heart. But against what you would expect, Orin understands and forgives us. According to her, only the present matters. Ever since the deed was done, Koishi didn't improve her behavior much. We did help Maribel and Renko, but in turn we were very mean to the majority of the pets. Threatening them with the axe was pretty awful. We finally regained control. We can't seem to interact with Orin. She's also adamantly blocking the way to the bedroom. Let's hope nothing we needed was still there. As Koishi herself admitted, she has been a pretty big bully since her return to the mansion. The dragon said we shouldn't let Oku out, and it sounded sincere about that part, more than I liked to admit at the time. Maybe there is something wrong with Oku. Maybe there is a sensible reason why she's held captive. The moment to decide is now. It should be an obvious choice. We went through so much trouble to get the items. Still, something is not right. Remember the flashback we had in which the black cat was about to pounce on the yellow bird? It might seem so absurd, but we must refuse Oku. What makes a person mature and responsible is when they're ready to admit they don't always know everything better. One must listen to the advice of others and respect it. Our decision is of course incredibly frustrating for Oku, who promptly throws a tantrum. The surrounding cages shake violently. We can only hope they don't come crashing down. Unsurprisingly, the Hellraven does not understand at all why we let her down. Any explanation we could give would fall on deaf ears. Children, and sometimes adults, can be so stubborn. Ultimately, we can only apologize and make a promise for the future. I'll come here to play with you. Oku's response is, "Oh my god." I think that's just the way she squawks. With that, we follow Oren to Satori's bedroom. It's all got to do with a very symbolic gesture. We deposit the key onto the spot it belongs to. We also just lose the eye. Was it even of any use? Well, now it speaks and thanks everyone. It goes so far to break the fourth wall and thanks us in particular. We made an incredibly unorthodox choice there, but I think this confirms it as the right one to make. For what feels like the 100th time, we are back in the asylum cell. Everything is at its proper, usual place, except one thing. We can see Koishi's unkempt hair. That will not do. We need our hat. Our hat is our friend. It makes us feel safe and appreciated. The area has become eerily quiet. Huh? That wasn't Kokoro. It looked like a large hand in the window. Koishi makes no comments on any of these objects. It comes across as if the game bugged out, but that would be a stretch. Anything hidden in the cell? Doesn't look like it. There never has been so far. What was that clamor? It sounded inhuman. Koishi calls it gross. I'm just too curious. Who was that? Who's in there? Oh boy, I regret going back. This has to be it. This horrific monstrosity is sure to give us a game over. No way it won't feast on us. Somehow we escaped. Let's never enter our room again. If we're lucky, the walls will be too thick to breach. I'm scared. Not just you, Koishi. Will this excerpt help us calm down? Well, with such a picture, it's already creepy in its own right. All the mothers and fathers of the world love children. Babies also love their mothers and fathers. Some news reports make me doubt the first of those sentences. It's bold to say them without exception. Speaking of babies, Koishi shouted that she doesn't like them when we saw that abominable creature. As hideous as it was, its limbs had the looks of baby fat. How strange that our protagonist would have pedophobia, a fear of infants. Ah, we finally get a reference to a different movie. Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho and its infamous shower scene. I think that's Satori as the about-to-be-stabbed Marion Crane. Norman Bates' shadow looks like it wears Koishi's hat. How many more nutcases must we endure being compared to? The text that came with the note was about a twisted logic that justifies killing so long as the killer is prepared to be killed. We've never seen this part of the corridor. The floor tiles bend in a chaotic manner, and there's a big enclosure in the background. It could be a receptionist's counter. Hidden in the other world is an excerpt about quantum physics. How scientific and demanding. It speaks about the third eye in the sense of an outside observer. Because this is a Touhou fan game, we instantly and recklessly thought of the mind-reading Satori yokai when we heard of a third eye. The adjacent hallway has babies floating like balloons in the background. The woman next to them must be a nurse, and this facility a maternity ward. Koishi does not like this place, which is hard to understand. It's the beginning of new lives. It should be the most positive corner of any hospital. The next note continues the previous one. The third eye is used as a synonym for the unknown strangers we encounter in our daily lives, whose possibly judgmental thoughts we cannot read. This must have been written by a very paranoid and anxious person. The hidden note right next to that one must have been left by the Komeji's mother. Two daughters are described under a picture of Satori and Koishi, and there's a mention of a husband. It does not sound like a very harmonious marriage. The aloof and distant daughter is undoubtedly Koishi. It characterizes her to a T. These babies don't look developed at all. The leftmost one is more like a blob without any features. And why do they just magically float? Is Pennywise about to get his reference? It wouldn't be a stretch at this point. Outside we find another infant, and that one has a really long umbilical cord as well. If this were a different scary game, we could absorb that cord and two others like it to get the best ending. The lamppost baby giggled at us and it sounded like a taunt. So are we about to explore Koishi's hometown? I suppose we don't have that freedom. We can only go back to the hospital. Our adventure is putting its focus on it for whatever reason. You might have noticed we ignored this excerpt on the counter here. It's a very special one, the 41st we collected out of 41 in total. It's about a mother again, or rather motherhood, and it's a lot more positive and optimistic than the last few. It's also special for another reason. It warps us to a world of black and white. It's a living room and there's a conversation happening. We can only see the hair of the two speakers, and only when no text box is blocking the view. More interesting than the adults, I find the two toddlers on the carpet. Their pajamas look like they're sewn together. This needn't mean that their bodies are intergrown as well, but didn't we already have Siamese twins appear somewhere? Yeah, there was a framed picture of some. One of them is wearing a heart-shaped hairpin. No doubt these must be the Komejis. Meanwhile, the parents' discussion has turned into a heated, unsettling argument. The main fuel of it all seems to be that one of the children is not keeping up with its age when it comes to cognitive development. The parents sound very ambitious, very demanding towards their offspring, and are therefore frustrated. While Satori is also often seen as an oddball in Gensokyo. I have a feeling the problem child here was young Koishi. If she did understand this quarrel despite being so small and inexperienced in life, it must have been crushing for her confidence. Now the household's wife is really taking some mean blows, but you failed as a mother. A filing for divorce would not be unexpected after such a sentence, at least in modern times. We can't know when this is set and how free anyone is to leave their life behind. A scapegoat that is coming up now is bumpkin language. It was long believed that you must speak properly to growing children to not make them turn out stupid. In England, the Teletubbies really got under fire for that. I believe it is viewed as a myth nowadays, or at least an exaggeration. Easy targets aside, what a shattered couple. Perhaps we'll learn more about that family and what Koishi went through, but not today. We'll take a break, because I think this game is about to get really serious. I'm Gesh86, and I will see you again soon. If you are brave enough, that is.